Hello to everybody who's watching right now. We'll be starting in just a few minutes. I'm just waiting for my guests to sign on. Hello, Monica. Hello, Joe. Hello, Richard, William. Thank you guys for tuning in. Oh, okay. Hello, that makes sense. All right, you guys. So it is 6:33. We are gonna go on and get started here. I'm gonna turn on my camera. Oh, let me fix that. Let's see here. All right. All right. So, hello, everyone. Today we have a couple of topics that we are going to be discussing. Starting with our first topic, we are going to be discussing family trauma and drama. And then we're going to get into enlightenment and obligation, or I'm sorry, entitlement and obligation, dealing with your elders. And then last but not least, you don't owe an explanation to your no. But before we get started, I would like to introduce my newest co-host. We have a show that is going to be launching February the 9th um, on every Thursday at 7:30 p.m. She is a YouTuber. The name of her YouTube channel is Monica Love TV. Her name that will be on the new show that we will be airing is called Queen's Talk, and her name is going to be Queen Mo. So I would like to welcome Queen Mo.
Hello, everybody. Hello. What is going on? I'm new to this over here with what you do, so we just gonna take that off. You know what I'm saying? There we go. Welcome, hi, everybody. I'm Miss Queen Mo. Monica Love TV. We're gonna be launching a wonderful show. And I want you guys to just stay in, and we're gonna have wonderful discussions. So welcome, everybody.
All right, and let's welcome our guest, Nisha Adams. Welcome back, Nisha. It is nice to have you with me again.
Nice to have nice for I mean, thank you so much for having me. I don't know why my head looks so zoomed up. Does it look zoomed up to you? I'm just like, why is my head so big in this box? But
I don't know.
I'm glad to be back.
All right. All right. All right. So you guys, we're gonna start with the first topic. Let me pull that up here. All right, family trauma and drama. A lot of families they have, a lot of drama, and I think that a lot of the drama comes from trauma, past traumas from like way back, and then it's kind of like drug into, the newer generations, and it's kind of like something that's hard to break. So how do you guys feel about that? And even people in the comments, if you would like to share your thoughts and opinions, we would love to hear what you guys would have to say.
I'm going to say, dealing with family trauma and drama, that does have effects from the older generation to the current generation, because a lot of stuff is not discussed. A lot of our problems are not discussed. They'll push it under the rug like it doesn't happen. That's in hints of, the prodigal child dilemma. I personally know that because I don't speak to my whole family. So, we do need to get this off our chest. And anytime you want to discuss anything about the past, they pretend like you don't even exist and don't even discuss it. So yes, we need to start discussing um
So,
those
so
type of
when you
things.
say um not discussing things, do you mean like past things that may have happened like back to
Yeah.
them, and they kind of
Yep.
keep it? Yeah, I agree with you on that one too. I do.
Yeah. This topic is so, man, there's a lot to digest when it comes to family trauma. And
Mhm.
then I love that it's about family trauma and drama, because the drama derives from a lot of contributing factors. For me personally, so I don't know if y'all remember me from from when I was on here a long time ago, but I go by Nisha by nature. I'm a self-love advocate, a self-love coach, a speaker, facilitator, a host. I do host monthly women empowerment groups. And this topic of discussion is so relevant, because that's specifically why I host space, especially for Black and brown women, because it's imperative for us to have conversations about the stuff that we deal with, the stuff that we battle with, our trials and tribulations. Because yeah, like you said, Queen Mo, we come from a long line of trauma where our ancestrals, or the generations before us, would naturally sweep things under a rug. And I think we're coming into this age, or this new shift, where it's so much more common now to speak up and talk about your issues, because
Mhm.
we're correlating that to healing. We have to heal in order for us to move on, like, in order for us to get through some of the traumas, or whatever family dramas that we've developed based on the traumas that we've experienced. It's like we got to get through those uncomfortable conversations. So like for me, I'm just a huge advocate for holding space first, right? Because a lot of the times we just didn't have the space, we couldn't speak up,
Mhm.
as a child. Oh, stay in a child's place, you
Mm-hmm.
can't, you don't got no nerves, like all this stuff that you heard growing up. You did not have space to just be. So now, having space to be, you're finding that, oh, I can be vulnerable enough to even share my experience with another woman who can relate to my experience, who's also on a journey to healing, to wanting to,
Mhm.
break those generational curses, to break those cycles, those habitual, cycles that we know is very unhealthy. And I think it's so imperative. It's just so important to have conversations. So that's my thing. Like, that's my specialty. I love holding space. If anybody that's listening is interested in joining, it's called Women on Wednesday. I host it every third Wednesday of the month in person, in North Minneapolis. So you can find my information on my website, myMagicalHour.com. Right now there's some I'm tweaking it, so it might not be up, it might be up, I don't know. I'm tweaking it to make some updates to my website, but you can also follow me on Instagram at Nisha by Nature, and send me a DM to let me know that you're interested, because I think that's where it starts. Like, you gotta have the space
A
to talk.
safe space.
Yeah, and
Man,
you
it's
know what
so
else too?
important.
Because I
As
was
many as
just
safe
on
spaces, as many as safe spaces as we need to get the
possible.
word
Yes,
out. You know what I'm saying?
yes,
It's enough for separation. for
Mm-hmm.
us to be here
Man.
and in the same field shows that we can get along and we're providing safe space.
Yes. And because, I just had this discussion with another young lady, Letha Goodman. You guys should check her podcast out. Uh, we were having this discussion, and also one thing, when you sit down and try to have these discussions, may it be with your children, may it be with your family members or whatever, if you're not going to step in your own truth and accept your wrongs and just admit that you was wrong, maybe you didn't make the best decision, it's not going to work, because you don't want to gaslight and you don't want to lay blame. Just air it out, admit you're wrong, apologize, and move from there. That's
And
another
Yeah,
it's
thing. People don't like to accept their wrongs.
that's the thing, they don't like to accept their wrongs, and it's like that's a part of healing. They'll be
Yeah,
like, well, they did this and they did that and they did this and they did that, but not acknowledging that sometimes there's some fault of your own to help with your healing in your journey. And I am my sister's keeper LLC, my company where I help women. I put the ball in your court. You work on what you want to work on versus me, you getting somewhere and they're telling you what to work on. You see what I'm
hmm
saying? And that's giving you self accountability down to the time you make your appointments, down to what you want to work on. But it starts with self accountability. And you're right,
yeah.
ladies. We have to point these things out. We
yes,
can't just be like, oh, they did this to me. Well, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times, hurt people. And you have to
yeah.
acknowledge that.
That's a
Yeah,
real statement
somebody
right
got to be the
there.
bigger person. And to your question, let it make sense. What I mean by trauma is basically what I have really kind of noticed as I got older and was growing up is that, like, my mom and like her mom, they suffered different traumas, like abuse, and maybe there was some domestic abuse and those sort of things, and they kind of never dealt with it, and then it was kind of just brushed under the carpet, and so then they kind of took that into um you know raising their kids, and then the cycle kind of continued. We kind of took it into raising our kids, and so that kind of, to me, is like one of the biggest problems when it comes to the family trauma. Is
Mhm.
it's not being dealt with, it's not being talked about. Like, if we could have understood this is what happened uh to our parents, when we, if they could have
Mhm.
explained this, maybe we could have understood them a little better. I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, we need to get out of that you don't talk about things, you know what I'm saying? And then I
Mhm.
think it's okay to talk to your kids, and if they ask questions, I don't think that you should tell them, stay in the kids place, it's not your business, go sit. I think that we just need to start communicating with each other more to break some of those curses and get over and past some of that
Yeah.
trauma.
Yeah, I definitely feel you on that. And I'm starting a healing process by having my 12-year-old daughter having this safe space to be like, look, mommy, you wrong. Look, mommy, nah, you ain't gonna be disrespectful. But if you come to me and we're having a discussion, I didn't want to be 30 years down the line, 40 years down the line. She telling me I did something to her when I was 13. Let's discuss this and get this out of the way. So that's one way that you know what I'm saying? You have to hold yourself accountable, even with your children. You might not know that you hurt them or said anything.
Yeah,
And if it
yeah,
doesn't start at home, again, it's not going to start nowhere. So that's one way we can start by putting in our daily lives of holding ourselves, and that's another way of holding yourself accountable. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that. I'm a mother of three, and I have so many deep conversations with my children, and sometimes I used to think like, is this inappropriate because they're only, this old? And I'm like, no, it's because society isn't really showing me that that's what parents can do with their kids. But for
Mhm.
me, I go with I don't even know how to put it into words, but it's like I'm making my own rules, right? Like this is me breaking cycles by saying, you know what, Nisha, you know what you needed as a kid. You needed your mom to give you space, or whoever you needed them to give you
Mhm.
this space so that you can tell them, "Mommy, I was hurt by this," because you didn't have that. So now, like you said, like having to have that share those moments with your children, it's very uncomfortable. I mean, it's very uncomfortable allowing them to tell you what you did wrong. Nobody wants to be the finger to be pointed at them and feel blamed for anything. But when you change your perception or your perspective and identify what's happening, instead of it looking at it like, oh, something is being done to me, that things are being done for you, because this is us
Mhm.
also breaking cycles. I didn't have that as a child, but I'm going to provide it for my children moving forward. And now they're learning a new tool that can help them navigate and communicate and move through stuff that is very uncomfortable, that is can be very challenging. And that's, I always think about, I have all boys, so I always think about, like, one day you will be grown men, like you will be black men. I want my boys to be the men that I wanted in my life, that I needed in my life as a young girl, that I would want them to be for another, for other people in the community. So it's like when you think about those changes that you're making, those small changes that you're making at home, it's so much more powerful than. Like you're raising kings and queens, like that's where you're literally raising those type of leaders, those type of people in society and environment, just from those moments at home. So I think that it's imperative to like identify within yourself first, like, yeah, people did things to me, but where did I go wrong? When we talk about self accountability, you have to be willing to say, I allowed this person to do this to me,
Mhm.
versus
Mhm.
saying, oh,
Mhm.
they did this to me. Let's talk about your boundaries. Let's talk about your standards. Like, are you teaching people how to respect you, or how to love you, or how to treat you? Or are you just allowing them to do what? Because that's the thing, like, we're all in our own worlds. So you have to set the standard. You have to set the you have to create your narrative for your reality and your world, and how you want to present yourself and how you want people to treat you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, that's and you and again, how once you recognize that there's a problem, what do you do then? Now there's no excuse, because now you have to figure out how to set boundaries, and having these healthy discussions as ladies, is imperative, because we have to stand up, because if it's not us standing up, then it's like we all can get along, we all can do this. The world needs, we all need to stand together and get this done.
Well, and now we don't want to just X out the men too. It's important for the
Yeah.
men to have these discussions
Mhm.
right along with us women as well, because they're affected just as much. Like
Mhm.
when it comes to the men, raising men, they weren't allowed to cry. You shut up. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? So the
Mhm.
men don't. I think that's part of the reason why they have a hard time showing emotion. And I
Mhm.
would like to welcome Squala. Thank you for joining us. It's a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to
How you
have you.
doing? Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Good.
Appreciate it.
Did you have
Welcome.
anything that you would like to add, or
I mean, yeah. I mean, from a man's perspective, like how I was raised, I had one uncle. Like from as long as I can remember, it's just one rule: boys don't cry. So you grow up with that mentality, and then you, as a man, we experience certain things like we're not allowed to. Well, I won't say we're not allowed to feel a certain way, but if we express it a certain way, we're looked at as like we're soft or we're not a man. You know what I'm saying? So that makes people not like you got to man up all the time. So we just bury the hatchet and put it all away, and it causes other things to happen.
And that's exactly why,
um,
like, for me, I have three boys. Like, I always think about that. Like, I'm not a man. I don't know how to raise men, but I know what I want to see in men when
Right.
I'm
Mhm.
interacting with them. You know what I'm saying? So like let me start now instilling things into these boys now that will be conducive to them when they become men, because I did see that too. I mean, being around what do you call it, emotionally unavailable men my whole life. So like I knew that that was normalized, but it was dysfunction. It was
Mhm.
normal, us normalizing dysfunction, because we're all human. Like yes, there's a difference between being a man and a woman, but we all have feelings. Everybody got
Mhm.
emotions. So
Right.
I let my boys know it's okay to feel. It's okay to feel. You want to cry? You want to cry? Go ahead, cry. You want to punch a wall? Let's figure out the healthy outlets. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Let's figure out what's a healthy outlet and what works for you, because I don't want you to be balling it up, because now you resenting people, now you hate
Yep.
people, you fake mad behind their back, and now you putting your hands on somebody else because you holding on to some, you know what I'm saying? So it's like when I started to identify those things, like even within myself, because it's not just men, but even girls. Like I said, I didn't have space to really, and I ain't gonna say it like that, because I don't want it to sound like I just had a horrible childhood. I had a horrible mom. But there were spaces that I needed as a child, as a young girl, that I did not have to express myself. So there were times where, and I'm very emotional. I'm very emotional, and I like to be vulnerable. I like to share myself with people, but I didn't have a safe space to do so. So I did resent
Right.
people, and I allowed people to walk over me. I was a people pleaser. You know, there's so many things that you can like become just by withholding your true authentic feelings. So it's like when
Yep.
I experienced that, I'm like, let me teach these boys right now how to really like, and let them be messy too. Let them fall a little bit. Let them mess up a little bit, because they're kids, and also teach them that it's okay to mess up as an adult, because I'm an adult and I don't got it all
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
together either. You
And that's
know,
why
but
you
just
learn
Mhm.
from
really,
mistakes. You learn from your mistakes.
yes. So like allowing them to experience it now versus like telling them, "Oh, you can't do this now." And then they grow up 30 years old, don't know how to manage their emotions when they get into an argument, don't know how to just disagree and walk away, or agree to disagree, like got to put their hands on people, you know, stuff like that. And it's just like it starts in our childhood. That's the foundation of our
Mhm.
life. And
Yeah.
sometimes when people try to like exclude childhood trauma or exclude childhood experiences, they're excluding an opportunity to grow. They're excluding an opportunity to heal. They're excluding an opportunity to evolve. Like when people see me working on myself, it inspires them to work on themselves. So it's like you're excluding a whole community from growing and moving and shifting too. You get what I'm saying? Like like we're contributing to normalizing dysfunction if we don't take advantage of opportunities to grow. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
Mhm.
I
And we
want to
really need
respond
more
to
community. Like
um
Mhm.
the community presence needs to be back in, like, because right now everybody's every man for themselves, and that definitely plays a part in it as well. Because you don't know who to trust.
Yep, that
and
that's
like
that that's I know I can't even say nothing behind that because
That's
that's how it's been running. Every man for himself, and then we don't have nobody to talk to, and then we
Yeah.
can't. Yep, yep. Mm-hmm.
And then
that's
you
why
don't
it
want
starts
nobody
with
in your
you.
business.
That's why it
so
starts
I
with
wanted
you
to
though,
respond to
because
this question.
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
If you could elaborate on this question. I just want let it make sense to elaborate on this question. So can I ask what boundaries should a child have other than the obvious? Can you elaborate on that? Whoever was just speaking can continue.
No, we were just
One of you guys were
agreeing with
saying
each other. No, we were just agreeing
something.
that this every man for himself mentality, and we need to get back
Yeah.
to community, and able to feel like we should be able to start trusting one another, because we've been in this space of I gotta get mine, I gotta get yours, like he said, what I'm saying,
Hmm.
you ain't got nobody to trust, so it's like, ugh, you know what I'm saying.
So
Hmm.
where
But I
does it
think
start?
that's
Because you always hear people say, "Well, the Chinese people can stick together, the Arabs can stick
Yeah.
together," and but then it's like, okay, so if you guys see that, where does it start then? Where does it start, like with us?
It's
You know what I'm
starting
saying?
right
Like, how do
now.
you do it?
It starts with
It's start right now.
it
Mhm.
starts
It's
with it starts with you though. Like when you
Mhm.
what I've learned as a cuz I advocate for self-love. And
Mhm.
honestly, it took a long time for me to um allow myself to love, just prioritize loving me, because I'm a giver. I'm still a giver, but I was a unhealthy giver. I was an overcompensating giver. I was a, oh, I
Mhm.
need to fix everybody, heal everybody while I'm broken giver. But
mm-hmm.
it took a long time for me to acknowledge that self-love is literally the key component.
Mhm.
This is it, that's like getting to the root of things. We When we try to get together as a community and we got trust issues within ourselves, how the hell can I trust you if I don't trust me? So it's like it starts with you.
Self.
Everything that you want in in your external world, you
It
gotta
start
start
with
in your
self.
internal world. That's why
Mhm.
I advocate for self-love. It has to be self first. You
Self.
gotta love you
Mhm.
first. You cannot love
Mhm.
nobody no more than you love yourself. Because if you don't love you,
Of course, you
it's
can't know
just
nobody else.
basic. You
Exactly.
can't. You can't. And so we
Mhm.
end up using each other, whether it's conscious or unconscious, because we gonna use each other regardless. We use each other. We all need each other. That's just a human fact. Psychology
Right.
says that psychology says that every human being has a sense of wanting to belong. We all want to be in a part of something.
Mhm.
We all want to connect. We all want that. That's a basic necessity. But if you are, like, I don't like to use the term broken, but if you are dealing with so many internal, like you're battling with so many internal things, you're looking for something in the external world to fulfill those voids. You're feeling empty or lack somewhere. So you're using other people to get it. And that's where those unhealthy relationships come in at. That's where the toxic behaviors come in at. That's where the, I don't trust you come in at. Cause like you need something from them for you to feel validated, but it starts with you. You got to figure out what's going on
Mhm.
with you first. Sit
Mhm.
with yourself,
And
sort
see,
your
that's what
shit
I'm
out.
saying. That's what I'm saying. Like, I love this because I think the same. Like, I mirror the same thoughts because that's why I advocate for self. You know what I'm saying? Everything
You
out my
have
mouth is
to.
exactly self.
You
You know what I'm
have
saying?
to.
That's why I set my agency up self, about self. You know what I'm saying? Because if you don't know, if you can't even make a time for yourself to heal yourself, you're not ready. You know what I'm saying? I
Right.
can tell you to be here at 10 o'clock every Thursday, but if you set up the times, and I tell my young ladies, I say, this is for you, this is for your good. You can pick your time to start showing them it's okay to advocate for self.
Yeah.
So it does start with self.
And
Mhm.
another thing as well is communication. We have to learn how to communicate with each other.
Mhm.
And communication is more than just expressing how you feel. It's more of accepting how the next person feels as well. Whether you agree with it or not, you should try to understand it. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because like the way I look at it, I feel like you can't really disagree with something that you don't understand. Because you don't
Mm.
Mhm.
understand it fully enough to even just say you disagree with it.
Mhm. Mhm.
So
But
communication
I
is
think
probably a big one as well.
where the problem comes in on that, like you say, you can't disagree if you don't understand. It could be like a ego where it's like, rather than me saying I really don't understand where you're coming from, so I'm just gonna get mad and I'm just gonna disagree.
Mhm.
That could
Right.
be
Mhm.
the problem.
It
You know
looks
what I'm
like
saying?
that too.
What do you mean by boundaries? I have 8 kids, 8 different personalities. I was open with my child to speak, but my business was just that. I don't necessarily mean your personal business, but like if there's things that may have happened, like to cause different things that I don't really know how to put it in words, that would cause like if you get into a relationship, like if you was in a relationship with somebody and you went through, let's just say, domestic or whatever may have occurred, but then you go get into another relationship, but that person doesn't understand why you kind of do the things you do because it's because of that past relationship, what you went through in that past relationship. Do you guys get where I'm coming from?
I get what you coming from. I'm trying to help you with the thought, but I know what thought
Yeah.
you're trying to get at. It's like, how can I put it? Because I use this all the time. Because I that is a good question. I'm so free with my child that everybody think I'm like, telling my child all my business. But I think it's open. When they have questions, say they're upset about something, and you may have yelled instead of explained it. Let's say you told them to do the dishes. You know what I'm saying? And you might have uttered a word that hurt their feelings. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? You when they come to you, they should be able to come to you and be like, "Mom, you said, you called me out my name or something that made me feel uncomfortable." You know what I'm saying? A lot of children go through those type of name calling when they're growing up. You know what I'm saying? So you're self-consciously not knowing that you hurt this person's feeling. So you tell them, "Oh, no, don't say that." You know what I'm saying? Giving them their own voice. That's what she's kind of, meaning. That's a healthy way of changing the discussion. You see what I'm saying? And you would bring up, and then at that time, if there was something to say, you would like, "Well, I didn't realize I did that." You know what I'm saying? And you'll mention, "Okay, when I was growing up, my mother used to yell at me, like this." And then that's how you bridge the discussion and the gap of your past and, in your future with the discussion with your child. So that's what kind of that's the example of what she's trying to say. Like, and then you'll discuss a solution, you know what I'm saying, at the time or whenever y'all feel comfortable. But that's what we mean by, like, we're not just going to your child and just, telling them, but when life issues come up, being able to speak like that.
Right.
Nisha, I kind of feel like you touched on this one because she says, "What would you tell someone that has trust issues? Is really trust issues with other people, or is it really a personal issue?" And I think you had said, you have to learn to trust yourself before you can
She
trust
did.
somebody else. Correct? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't really understand the question, but other than like, um, if you okay, it says, what would you tell someone that has trust issues? Is really trust issues with other people, or is it really a personal issue? Um, it really, to me, I really think it depends on the situation, right? Because having trust issues about what, it could be based off like something you experienced in the past. Um, a lot of the time, like for me, I could say too, like this is a good example. I am the type of person that gotta just go through shit. Like I gotta bump my head and like learn my lessons through like literally bumping my head. I have to. You can't tell me don't do that, Nisha. Like don't do that because growing up, I was told things like not to don't do this, don't do that. But what they were saying wasn't matching up with what they were doing. It was always contradictory. So
Mhm.
I there was a lack of trust there because there was no solid connection between what they were saying and what they were doing. So I've learned like that. I don't know if that's toxic or not, but that's just how I learn. That's how I learn. Can nobody tell me not to do it? And now that I've experienced that myself as an adult, even with my children, I give them space to mess up, like because I know that that's how I learn. So I can't get mad at my child for saying like, "Yeah, mom, you said not to do it, but I see you do." So because I'm still human. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I think it does when it comes to like trust issue, whatever it is that you're trying to understand around having trust issues. I guess you really just gotta dig deep and figure out where it come from because that's just kind of I guess that's I hope I'm answering your question, but that's you just
Mhm.
gotta dig deep and kind of figure out where it come from. And then once you start to kind of like pave this way of like how you want to live, your foundation. And to me, when I'm coaching, I always talk to my clients and kind of get them to understand and sort through their set of thoughts, their set of beliefs, their set of morals and principles. Because we all, society has their standard, but we all have come from different walks of life and have our reasons for why we want to live the way we want to live.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't tell you what to believe in, because that's not my responsibility. It's for you to figure out, what do you want to believe in, because we all come from being conditioned and programmed to believe in certain things that may not be in alignment with what we want to see for ourselves. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where you build a trust with yourself. Start asking yourself a series of questions. Why do I think of myself like this? Like, my personal experience, I'm on a weight loss journey. I'm on a self-love journey. I'm on a healing journey. I'm on a lot of journeys right now. And when I was at my highest weight, I used to see myself how other people saw me. So being the reason why I'm on my self-love journey is because I had to figure out, how do I want to see myself? Regardless
Mm-hmm.
if I'm at my heaviest weight or at my goal weight. Like, how do I want to see myself? I can't keep allowing people to tell me who I am. I want to be able to define who I am. So like, I had to I had to literally go through all of my thoughts, my beliefs. What did I think about myself? How did I think about myself? Okay, you think you this? Where'd that come from? Because you don't think that. Somebody told you that. Somebody told you that. So once you get to a place of like letting go of all these thoughts and beliefs that are not yours,
Baby,
because
you will
most of
be
the time if
free,
you
and
hear
I'm proud
somebody
of
else,
you.
thank
Yeah.
you. It's
I'm
you
gonna
hear
tell you, I'm
somebody
gonna
else,
tell you, I'm proud of you because it takes a lot. Cause
it
I'm on the other
does.
side of that. I'm on the other side of that, and then once you get clarity, you're gonna be so free. I'm proud of you.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, like that's where I'm at. Is like I feel so I'm confident who I am. You couldn't get me to wear my natural locks. Like I love myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm at this place where I really do love myself, but I had to go through a lot of my internal things, figure out what was mine and what wasn't mine. Once you figure out what's yours, keep it. Once you figure out what ain't yours, throw that shit out. Cause like another analogy that I like to use is like, say you got a closet and you just throw stuff in there. Every time you get stuff, you baggage, whatever, you just throw it in that closet, you close the door, you don't even go through it, you just throw it in that closet. Now you go shopping, you got these bags, you went
Tell it,
shopping
girl.
though. You went shopping though, right? So this is the stuff you wanted. You intentionally went to the
Mhm.
store, you chose the
Mhm.
store, you chose the products, you got your bags, you bring it in home, you open your closet, you like, dang, ain't nowhere to put it. Now it's time for you to really look at what's in your closet and recognize that, hey, some of the stuff in here, I don't need it no more. Some of this stuff in here, I ain't even put it in there. When you start
Mhm.
to clean house internally, you can
Mm.
start to trust yourself. You can start to love yourself. You can start to acknowledge who the fuck you are. I'm sorry for cussing, but like
That you could
you can really get to this place of like clarity, like you said, like it gets clearer. It gets so much more clearer, and you start to understand who you are before you can move forward and start building this new version of yourself. So now you clean house and all your stuff that you just bought from the store that you chose. Now these are your thoughts. These are your beliefs. Now you get to put them in the
Mhm.
closet. Now you get to put a nice little light bulb in there. So now when you open your closet door, you can see it clearly. You know, stuff like that.
Mhm.
It's really about going through your internal environment before you can try to fix out and figure out what's going on in your external environment.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and then also too, learning from your mistakes. Because I was one of them people that I look back now is like, dang girl, how many times did it really take you before like, trusting, thinking everybody was my friend, thinking every man I got with loved me, and it's like once you done already been through it, there's red flags. So I just ignored all the red flags and kept having the same issues over and over. It's like now I think
Mhm.
about it like I don't want to say I was dumb, but it was like, dang girl, like you just wasted time for no reason. Like, you know what I'm saying? So let it make sense. Has a couple more questions. So do you all think that a child they should be able to do what adults do? I ask because my kids are now grown. I have 6 grandchildren now. I believe your growing up shapes you. I don't
So do you
I
all
don't
Mhm.
think
think
we
that
were
a child
yeah.
I'm
See,
sorry,
I
go
So the way I look at that question, I would answer that question and say that no, a child shouldn't be able to do what an adult should be able to do. But at the same thing, if you're doing certain things in front of your child and they see it, you should give them a certain level of understanding to where they know that it's not okay for them to do at that point in time. So like
Because
it's
you
all
know,
about being transparent and being communicative to your child. Like understand that your child is also a human being and not just like a child. Like it's a human. They're
hmm
learning and they're learning a lot. So at that point, you got to just let them know.
and a lot
Yeah.
of times, I think a lot of times, a lot of adults tend to forget what you just said. You know what I'm saying? I have a 12-year-old and she's so bright and we have these brilliant conversations. We
Hmm.
just watched Puss in Boots new movie that just came out. And I want you guys to go see that. It has so many jewels in it. You know what I'm saying? It was about fighting self. Exactly what we're talking about tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
In the movie, he was fighting himself the whole
Mm-hmm.
movie. You understand me? So
That's
we
yeah.
have to be able to talk and not always assume that kids don't know nothing. And it's half the time you fussing about them dishes, you explaining them, hey, teamwork make the dream work. You break it down, 9 times out of
Hmm.
10, they'll go do it. You know what I'm saying? So
Because
you just talking and just getting to know your child too, because a lot of times parents are so busy they don't know their kids' personality types.
right.
That's a big one. And I think it's
That is
important for our children to learn from us anyway. Cause like we said at the beginning, it starts from the home. So if I do something, expose my child to something, they're curious about it, but I don't get them space to ask me, mommy, what's that? What's going on? They gonna look for it outside, or they're probably gonna be exposed to it
Yeah.
outside, and now they're gonna be asking a stranger. They're gonna be influenced by them potentially because
Hmm
of my lack of being there for them first. So like for me, that was a cycle that I had to break though. Like it was very uncomfortable, but I remember like for my first encounter where I'm explaining to my child something that I'm like, dang, I remember as a child, my mama would have never explained this to me. But I want that type of relationship with my children. One, two, I want them to feel comfortable to talk to me about things that might be a little uncomfortable or might be like, oh, I don't know. This might be, this might be like grown up stuff. Like, I want them to talk to me about it first. I would rather
Right.
my kids to be exposed to things at home first than to be like exposed and experiencing things outside of the home because you just never know. You
And
don't
a
know
lot of
And
everything.
again,
parents,
go ahead.
yeah, a lot of parents put like a fear factor into their child. So now they might want to come to their parent, but now they're scared to like they get in trouble.
Mhm. Yep,
yeah.
Like
that's
That
a
all of
big
that
one.
makes a difference.
And
Yeah,
some of
because
this
I
stuff
have
can
an
be
open home. I have an open home to where we're balanced. And do you believe she's well behaved? She's well articulated, and you know what I'm saying. But I know her personality type. We have to know our kids' personality type, whether they're shy, whether they're nonverbal. You know what I'm saying. A lot of
mm-hmm,
parents don't really take the time to even know that.
right.
100%.
Yep.
all right. So, oh, moving on to the next topic. Let me go back to the chat. All right. Entitlement and obligation. What is entitlement and obligation to any? Can people please explain that? I don't, because sometimes I don't feel like people really know what entitlement is and what obligation is.
Ooh. Ooh. I
I
can't
think
it's at the tip of my tongue, but go ahead.
I
Oh, to
think it
me, I would say that entitlement would be you're entitled to something that you've either invested in, it belongs to you, but not because you're tied to somebody. You feel me? That's what entitlement would mean to me.
Mhm.
And I
I'm
think a lot of times, go ahead.
I was gonna say that entitlement. I don't know if it like. See, I'm trying to think of how it could relate to obligation, but I know entitlement. To how I look at entitlement is more of a perception, a feeling of maybe that you feel like something should be yours or you should have something that you like. Something like that. But like an
That was
obligation
that
is,
definition.
yeah, obligation would be something more that you have like you signed up for and you have to continue doing it like even if you don't want to do it like for example going to work every day like as an obligation you have to do it in order to do certain things that you need to do for your life. It's like there's no way
Those
around the
are
obligation.
that was the definitions I
Exactly.
was thinking of. Yep.
Yeah, those
Yep.
are the definitions. Those are the correct definitions. But I think people get them misconstrued. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you being entitled doesn't mean because somebody's your friend they owe you or they're
Mhm.
obligated. If they can't do it, you know what I'm saying? You can't
Right.
say they're not a friend because they couldn't or didn't want to do. I mean, because you have the right to not want to do something also. And
Mhm.
then I just think that a lot of people kind of get that understanding misconstrued.
Maybe they get it misconstrued because they want to, and again, we need to be careful because we trying to change. So
Right.
I'm trying to word it. You know what I'm saying? Because, like you said, a lot of people get them mixed up. You know what I'm saying? Or does a lot of people get them mixed up because of ego, and
So
they
I would
got to
say
Yeah.
get that. Yeah.
you can add expectation to that whole thing too because the feeling of
Yeah.
entitlement may come from a certain expectation.
Yeah, and I was
Mhm.
gonna say, just to piggyback off that, like entitlement, like okay, if we use the example of me being a giver, um, people may have a sense of entitlement that, well, you're always giving to me, you've always done this to me, and then I set a boundary, and they're like, what are you doing? That don't make sense. What, like, this is, what are you doing? You're interrupting this pattern. So I
Yeah.
think with that sense of entitlement, it's like maybe in an unconscious way, they're not even identifying it as entitlement, but it's showing up that way because maybe you've allowed it for so long, something, you know what I'm saying? Like you've allowed it for so long, and then now you're trying to interrupt that pattern. And it's like, but it's like an unspoken obligation, I guess, at the same time. It's like you kind of unconsciously agreed to do
Mhm.
something. I don't know. This can go so many ways, but that's just the first thing
Right?
that I
Because that's what I was
Right.
thinking. That's why I want to tiptoe into the ego programming. Because, like you said, I'm a giver, and then I didn't set up my boundaries, so now they feel that they're what
Yeah.
entitled to it.
Entitlement.
You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
yeah.
So
yeah,
it could be turning your fault in a way, huh?
yeah. You know what I'm saying?
I
Yeah.
would it, it's
So it's
like
But,
kind of.
I try to give
but
myself grace, or just people grace in general on both sides
Mhm.
of the spectrum, because it's like
Mhm.
we learning, like we're learning. You were doing
yeah,
what
Mhm.
you were conditioned and believed. Remember, when we talk about
Mhm.
beliefs, they weren't always yours. They were literally taught to you, whether it was conscious or unconscious, but you were programmed and conditioned in a way to believe that this is like the right way to be,
right.
whether you was internally battling with it or not. Because for me, naturally, I'm still a giver. That's literally at my core of who I am. But now I know how to set healthy parameters.
Boundaries.
I know how to
Mhm.
set healthy boundaries. Like I
Me
know that,
Yeah.
too.
yeah, I'm a giver, but I'm not gonna
Me too.
overcompensate. I'm not gonna
Mhm.
lose myself for you. So your
Mhm.
sense of entitlement, that ain't my responsibility anyway, because I'm now moving into a different version, a better version of myself. So you know what I'm saying? That just kind of comes with, I think, with the territory of healing and evolving, period. That you're gonna
Mhm.
experience people feeling that sense of entitlement because you've set that standard. It's again,
I say,
it
Mhm.
goes back to you setting that standard. Like you set that standard.
so even
Mhm.
like on the side where you say you're a giver, right? So even the giver may feel a sense of obligation. because
That's what
as creatures of habit. You can constantly doing this for this person, or you're constantly doing this for whatever reason, and then you don't know how to stop because that's what you've been doing. Like you
yeah.
feel like
Mm-hmm.
that's what you programmed yourself to do that.
And it's foreign to you to set boundaries around it. It's foreign
Yeah,
to no. It's foreign to not answer their calls anymore. Like all of that is new, but it's like once you start practicing it, then it's like I was saying, like an unspoken contract. That's what I feel like obligation sounds like. It's like a promise. And now you're breaking it, but it's not. It's more of like a um yeah, like I'm breaking it. Like, okay, I was that way before. That's what whether I promised it in a way where I knew that I was promising it to you, or in a way where I was people pleasing because that's all I knew. But now I'm like, no, I'm breaking that contract. I'm breaking that contract.
Yeah, yeah, and giving
Right.
people grace, I think too, is because, like you said, like you have to, once you know everything and you know the two, you have to give people grace, and
Yeah,
then when you see that it's going over to the other lane, by then you are, have to put the rails on it. Yeah.
exactly.
So let me ask y'all a question. Do y'all feel like there should be a certain age cutoff before you should just know like better at
No.
certain on certain things?
I think that
No.
society deems that. Like society
Hmm.
puts so
yeah.
much pressure on
Pressure.
you. It'll
Yes.
have you questioning where you are at 30. Like, girl, you should have been had your career. You should have been finished school. You should have been that's too much pressure. We're human. We go
No,
through shit
and
and we learn, and
right, right. Because
we're
I'm not putting
learning.
mines out until she comfortable and she ready, and you know what I'm saying. Because we've been conditioned to, just because you're an adult, you have to step outside. The world is dangerous, and it's not that you're a baby in them; it's that you're making sure that they're ready for the outside world. That's a deep conversation, but yeah, you know what I'm saying. I
So were
definitely
you
agree with
responding
that.
to this question? You were responding to this question?
I didn't even see it. Okay, it says,
Oh yeah, what you just said pretty much goes with that.
yeah, you know,
Okay.
you don't, but that's how I am. And and raising children over 20, the thing you were saying, which you was call it, that just asked the question, um goes with the whole thing of, you know, each child is different. And you know what I'm saying, just because they're over 20, if you're doing things in front of them, you still should explain why you're doing it. You know what I'm saying? And then again, you have to also understand that they are adults and give them their space to make their changes. So once they become an adult with that situation, you were going on the adult part of it, you have to understand, if they continue, if they do as you say do, however you worded it, they're, first of all, they're adults, and second of all, once they do, you have to ask yourself, are you ready for their decisions that they're making? Because you have to understand that they're individuals at this point. You know what I'm saying? That's a two-layered question, actually.
See, I think like as far as the first question is there a cutoff age to where somebody's supposed to be in life? Um, I would say
No, it
yes,
wasn't
and
actually. It wasn't actually where you should be in life. I was more speaking along the terms of mistakes, like
Mm-hmm.
okay.
repeating the same pattern. Yeah.
Oh
Mm-hmm.
yeah, well at that point, everybody's ever learning. So I mean, people have to learn at their own pace. Wherever they are in their life, they have to learn at their own pace. But then, as
Mm-hmm.
far as taking care of a adult child, an offspring that was an adult now, I mean, it's a go by case basis because certain people are set up differently. Like I know a 18-year old, they just turned 18 and their parents then gave them an apartment and a car and everything. So like they don't really have to take care of them. Like they set them up a certain way to where, but some people might look at that as they are taking care of them. But it's all on case by case basis on however you set it up for them, or however they set themselves up.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the more you alleviate from trying to match what society thinks is a standard for you, the more you can kind of figure out what works for you. Like you said, Queen Mo, you're not kicking your child out at 18, because society or culturally, we feel like that's appropriate. And I could say we because at one point in my life I thought that way. Um, but it's more about being like aware of like your stuff. Like, do you have capacity to help your 20? Like, I don't know. Just figuring out what works for you versus thinking that there's just a set rule to life. There's no set
Set
rule to
rules.
life.
And that's what I
Nope.
be wanting to tell people too, is that in these type of discussions, they tailor on more. This is just general. We just want you to be able to make decisions for you and your family that's healthy, and y'all take them from there, because you can easily go down a rabbit hole. Well, my 20-year-old was was well taken care of, like he just said. And then just because my 20-year-old stayed at home don't mean there's nothing wrong with her. She just wants to
Mm-hmm.
be more secure when she stepped out. So again,
Right.
you have to keep it, in knowing yourself and knowing your family. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? These are just general guided questions. And that's how, we go into them deeper, unnecessary conversations, because it's based on an individual basis. We just want you to be
Mm-hmm.
able to make healthy decisions for yourself and your family. You
Okay.
know, that's pretty much it. Yep.
Now I chose this one because I think a lot of times our elders just don't understand us. Like,
At all.
and it's like we don't, yeah, it's going back to earlier when
Hmm.
we're not allowed to have a voice. You just stay in the kids' place, you don't ask questions, you just do. You know what I mean? Like, and you're not allowed, and then you're not allowed to tell them they're wrong. So how do you guys
Hmm.
deal? How do you deal with that? Do we just move on from our elders, or do we try to? Because I feel like a
Well,
lot of our stuck in their ways, and there's
well,
no.
yeah, I have an example for that. My father, I had a lot of trauma, past trauma, some I brought onto myself, which, like you said, girl, keep bumping my head, still dealing with the same person. And I learned. So as I learned, it's like my father wouldn't forgive me, and he was on the negative talk. And sometimes even with them, you guys set boundaries, and I said boundaries. You know what I'm saying? I said a strong one, that I'm not talking to them, but set up some type of boundaries. You know what I'm saying? Because now you ain't got to go as drastic as I did, but again, case by case basis. But let it be known that I'm on the positive rain. You know what I'm saying? If they don't want to hear you, that's their choice. That's not your fault. That's their problem. And forgive yourself, but you tried. You know what I'm saying? Long as you try, you know what I'm saying? Because we are hard on ourselves. For a long time, I wanted the happily ever after family. I wanted my sister and my cousins and the whole nine. And I totally am apart from my family. And I'm okay with that now, because I understood if they wanted to be around me, they would. And I gave myself benefit of the doubt for that. So again, with our elders, yeah, you should stand up to yourself. You know what I'm saying? Stand up for, and if they don't expect your boundaries, then you have to set some for them. You know what I'm saying?
And then the judging, I think too, a lot of elders where they go wrong is that they're so quick to judge, and so that's why I think a lot of the newer generation don't like to listen, is because they're not being talked to as humans. They're
Mhm.
being
Mhm.
talked down to.
Mhm. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I absolutely. I'm sorry. You can go ahead, young squaws.
Oh yeah. Basically, I look at that. I say basically the same thing like I said earlier, like communication, how it's presented to you. Even though
Mhm.
like people go into situations with good intentions and come off wrong. It's like the elder. they stuck in their ways. They have a certain way of doing things back in when they were growing up or when they were doing whatever they were doing. It's a different time period. So while they're trying to teach somebody something, they may not be wrong, but at the same time, they have to put a mutual respect on it and understand that
Mhm.
the person is a person. Like you understand you are elder and you may be right, you may know better, but it's all on how you wrap it up and give it to the person. 'Cause you can't just tell somebody that they're wrong. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can, but a lot of people are not receptive to that.
Yeah, that's
and
why a
yeah, and
lot
then
of time I lead with
also
love.
understanding that they can learn from younger people too. I've learned some stuff from some younger people. I'd be
Ooh,
like, what?
tell me
Yeah,
about it.
of
But
course.
I just think a lot of the elders, like, it's like, no, I know what I'm talking about. You don't know what you're talking about. They're not open to learn new, or you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I think that all goes back to like the conditioning and the programming. Like them
Mhm.
being and living in a different era has a lot of influence on where there's stagnant, you know, because for me, like I experienced like I encountered this season of my healing journey where I started to see the good in healing, the good in like letting go of resentment and stuff like that. And I wanted an elder to see that so bad, like, oh my God, if you just come over here and do this, like you will feel 10 times better. But it's like, one, healing, changing, growing, that's a choice. It's a
Mhm.
choice. You have
Mhm.
to recognize that there needs to be some type of change. You have to acknowledge that there needs to be some change. But if you don't want to see that, you're not gonna want to change because you don't see it as there's a need. Why do I need to
Mhm.
change? I've been this way for 55 years. You know, I was able to survive through this, that, and the third. So why do I need to change? And then yes, you're hearing this from a younger perspective. So you're like, who are you? Like I've been here longer than you. That's why like giving people grace on your journey is so important because
Mhm.
one, like it's just a lot. It's a lot to it's a lot. It's a lot to healing. It's just a lot to all of this. So my thing is like when I encountered that experience at that moment, at that time, I was like frustrated because I'm like, I just need you to hear me out. Like, why can't you just listen? Why don't you understand? Why don't you, why can't you respect
Mhm.
me? But because I started to learn, like, okay, it's a choice. They don't want to see that there's a problem. They have been conditioned to sweep it under the rug and just keep it going. That's also a survival mode mechanism. I need to survive in this moment. I don't have time to dig through stuff and feel and conjure up. Oh, I don't have the time. I don't have the capacity mentally, emotionally. And then that goes back to, did I even have space when I was a child to speak up? No, I didn't. So you telling me I can speak up now at 55? Like I don't have the capacity. That don't even sound realistic to me. What are you talking about? That's
Right, like you said, that grace, and I think that's where the disconnect. We can give them grace, but still set boundaries. You know what I'm
and you
saying?
have
When
to.
I came on the other side of my healing journey, I'm like, Dad, I don't want to hear negative talk. We can politic, we can talk about everything else. But if you want to go back and start, picking at a heel wound, we're not gonna do that.
Yeah.
And so, giving them grace that they're not gonna change and just setting boundaries. You know what I'm saying? And still interacting, but being able to, like you said, okay, they're not ready to understand. I could want it all I want. I want them to hear me all I want to hear. You know what I'm saying? But again, and then a lot of two we can start to be elders. You know what I'm saying? I'm 42, so I'm speaking up. You know what I'm saying? I'm breaking the curses and the cycles of, like, look, we got to get this together. We know the old ones, you set in their ways, and there's no now it's no excuse because we have platforms like this to where we can start getting things done. So you know what I'm saying? I'm definitely appreciating this because, like I said, you know what I'm saying? It starts with self, and recognizing healing starts with self. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? That's why when she was talking about self, I was up here like, amen, 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 because that's what I be on my girls about. That's my whole platform is about self. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Because if you cannot recognize what's going on with self, and then leading with love. You know what I'm saying? Just start with love. You know what I'm saying? Okay, you may not come around today, but I see you, I love you. And just
Yeah.
leave it at that. You know what I'm saying? I think sometimes when people think that, us givers and us carers, we think we just overwhelmed with love. We like, I see you, I love you. I'm gonna be over here. When you ready, I'm over here. We
Yeah.
give them grace to come, but we have the opportunity to love. So yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a question, and this is not to say that in a negative way, but how did we get here? Like, did we just like, because it's been generations before us that couldn't do, like, that never did this. So how did it just shift? Like, how did it just get to this point where we're like, okay, we're gonna start self-reflecting, we're gonna start, like, how did do you guys think it's just something in the universe where it's just time that you
I
guys
knew
get
it
what I'm trying
was.
to say?
I knew it was because at 6 years old, I knew that I was spiritual and I was gonna be a leader. And even when I was going through my different traumas and my different episodes, I was always protected. So I knew a long time ago, and I'm 42, that I was gonna be this is gonna be the generation that's gonna have to stand up for what makes sense and band together. You know what I'm saying? With no excuses. So I knew. So it's been in the universe for about 40, like 50, 40, 30 something years. It's been there. But I think what would have shifted is, all the craziness that was going on. It kind of start pulling back some of the layers, like, now it's getting more in people's faces. But I think subconsciously we already knew that, Kyrie Irving said one time that he knew that he was going to be one of the generations of people who speak. This generation was going to be one of the people that spoke up. So I'm not the only one that felt it. It just don't seem like we knew what we knew what we had to do. Does that make sense? you know.
Mm.
Yeah. I think that we showed up here because of a conscious choice or conscious effort to do so. We noticed that there was a problem and we wanted to change it.
Mhm.
So I think that that's literally all it takes, is where you are acknowledging it first, because a lot of the time people are either oblivious to it or they don't care.
Mhm.
And they
Mhm.
don't see a reason in changing because it hasn't changed. So it's like, what's the point of speaking up
Or
on
they
stuff
haven't
that
even
ain't,
seen any good examples.
or
To be truthful.
yeah. So, and it's crazy because like I'm going through this right now in the workplace. I'm like a thought provoking leader. People hate me, people love me. And it has a lot to do with it has a lot to do with me kind of holding people accountable that are in higher leadership roles, that I feel like they're ignoring some truths. And I'm like,
Mhm.
I'm at the front line, so I'm affected by everything that's happening. And
Mhm.
because I'm at the front line and I really care about my job, I work in social services. So I'm working with the community. I'm like, I really care about my job. I care about my role. I care about how I'm impacting families. I care about the information that I'm delivering to them. I care about the resources I have connections to. Like, I care about all of that. So if the organization that I'm working for is in alignment with this mission, that's in alignment with my personal core values, I want to be here. But I'm noticing a corrupt in the system. So I'm going to speak up on
Mhm.
it. And like, that to me is where change it starts. Like, you got to plant the seeds,
Mhm.
and I might not see the change in my organization. I might not see that change, but there's some type. First of all, I had to go through a bunch of trials and tribulations to show up as who I am today. I wasn't always I was always good at speaking, but I wasn't always confident at speaking. Now
Mhm.
you can't shut me up. Like, I'm gonna speak up in every room that I'm
Girl, tell
in.
me about it.
I'm gonna speak up in every room that I'm in, because I know I'm allowing God to lead me. God is at the foundation
Mhm.
of everything I do. Anything I do, that's my purpose, that's my call. God said do it, I'm doing it. It's to the point where I was trusting my faith in God. I was at a street light. I'm on I don't know if y'all know where Olson Memorial Highway is, but it's a busy street.
Well, I do.
Okay, so it's a busy street, and I'm at the corner. I'm at the red light, busy traffic going back and forth. I'm like, okay, this is me asking God, like, listen, God, if you told me to drive through this red light, because
Girl.
because I acknowledge how much faith I have in my relationship with God. And it's to the point where I trust him so much. If you told me to drive through this red light, God, I'm doing it.
Mm, mm.
I'm doing it
Come on.
because I believe in you that much. So like allowing my relationship that I've built with God over the course of several years, because there was a time where it didn't exist. But now because I know who I am, I know that God got me. I know that God put us being on this platform together at this time was divine. God put us
Come
together
on.
on
Come
purpose.
on. Come on. Come
Like I
on.
believe that whatever room I'm in, because he gave me the gift of communication to speak, I'm supposed to. That's my job. And
Spiritual.
I don't feel like I know that it's coming from love, and I know that it's coming from pure intentions, good intentions. I know that it's coming from this deep desire to help people heal. It's coming from a deep desire to help bridge the gaps of missing opportunities. Like if we have opportunities for the system to work a little bit more fluently, because the people down at the bottom are affected by it, which is my people, because they in my community. I want to speak up on it. I'm gonna speak up on it. So I think that's kind of where it starts. Like you gotta acknowledge that there's a problem, and when you acknowledge that there's a problem, you think about all the gifts and the tools and the resources that you have, and use that. That's what God sent you through, whatever he sent you through on purpose, so that you can show up
Mm-hmm.
as who you are, with those tools, with that experience, with the enlightenment, with the people, with your community, with the network. Like he does
Mm-hmm.
that. God is so strategic. Like man, like when like
He's the
our
on
relationship
time.
with
I'm trying
God.
to tell you, girl. No, I totally feel you. You know what I'm saying? I definitely feel you because I'm a spiritual person. I am so spiritual. I like when I say I feel you on that. I walk by when he tell me to do something. He told
You
me
just gotta
to
do it.
reschedule stuff to do what I got to do to be here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I know what I'm supposed to be doing. And like you said,
exactly.
once we sow those seeds, that those are very powerful. And that this is a prime example of what we're talking about. I love it. I
Because
see.
because
Mhm.
another thing that I have clients that are young, I have clients that are older, and honestly, it was shocking when older women would come to me for for coaching support. I'm like, "Are y'all sure?" Like me?
See, yes, but see,
But
that's the thing. That's the thing. We are powerful. And I'm the same way with my coaching. You know what I'm saying? My coaching style is more, a freestyle. And I think because what I've learned with people, you can direct them all which ways, but if I'm putting the power back into your hands and they're not
yes,
used to that, they're not
yes,
used to, I say, something as simple as, what time is my appointment? And I say, no, you made the appointment. What do you want to work on? Then they're like, oh, no, I don't know what to work on. But I'm teaching them how to trust themselves, to
yes,
guide themselves. You know what I'm saying? Um, I like the way I teach because before you know it, they be like, I have one young lady who started off on a freestyle schedule and she had a little prepaid freestyle schedule and now she booked and busy 2 days a week. But she brought herself up to that. If I was to be like, girl, I want you here, here, and here, and here, she wouldn't have grown as far. You know what I'm saying? So spiritual is a big piece of it. Hmm.
it is. I was gonna say one last thing though about like when I get older clients, I what I get the most from them is I hear them say that they feel like they it's too late for them to live the life that they wanted to live that they want to live. So when I think about what I'm doing, what we're all doing right now, speaking up, speaking our truths, sharing why it's important for us to have these conversations and creating safe spaces. Most of my clients that are older, what I'm hearing is that they knew that they had a calling. So it's like
Hmm.
I believe that we all have a purpose or a reason for being, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? We all have some type of reason. So when because they grew up in an era where they had to sweep stuff under the rug and they just had to keep it moving, they ignored the fact that they could contribute the same way we are contributing.
Hmm.
So when I go back to your question, when you asked about, like, well, why are we doing what's different? Like, why are we doing it? It's because we're literally following the call. We're following the mission. We're being told internally, like, this is what you should be doing. Like, Nisha, I put you through that stuff so you can learn how to speak your truth. So every room you go in, you got to speak up. So I'm because my relationship with God is confident, because my relationship with self is confident, I'm showing up and doing what God told me to do regardless. Regardless, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just coming through. That's just how I feel. So like when I think about my older clients who are feeling stuck and they're like, I should have did this 20 years ago. It's because they didn't have the tools. They didn't have this environment that's giving them space to say, let's tap into your potential. Who are you? To really dig deeper to get to where we are right now. So it's like, and then you have a group of them who are absolutely oblivious to their power. They're oblivious to what they can really do with their hidden talents, with their internal, strengths. Because who was giving them space to do that? And I know I keep saying who was giving them space, like it's not up to us to do it. But when I think about it, like from a psychology standpoint, there's this term or this like experience or experiment that's called majority rules. And to me, that's literally like the standard for society's rules. If everybody else is doing it, I'm doing it too, unconsciously, right? So if ain't nobody else speaking up, why would I speak up? If ain't nobody else having these conversations about healing, why would I do that? So it's like it's so many different layers too, I believe why. And this is all based off my own theory, y'all. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, this is what I think is why it has to happen now, because you have a lot more people who are tapped in, who are so confident in like themselves and wanting to get closer to themselves, because that's all it is to me. It's like we're disconnected. A lost soul is somebody that's just disconnected from who they are.
From themselves. I couldn't have put it nowhere. And see, that's why
Yeah.
I love these conversations, because, like I said, I don't have to say much, because when I touch and agree, I touch and agree. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Because I feel the exact same way. I lead with God, I lead with my purpose, I lead with my voice, and I lead with determination. And we're going to get it done. I know it is. I feel it.
Yeah. So then I was asking this question because a lot of times, like for instance, say you ask me for $30 and I tell you I don't got it, but I just got paid. Do I really have to break it down to you why I don't have that $30? Do I really owe you an explanation?
No.
Do you think you should just give one just out of common courtesy? I mean,
It varies on the situation and what's being asked, but on that example, no. And let me tell you why. Because if it's coming from a person who consistently asks you for stuff, then no, you don't explain an explanation. If it's your child asking you for something, then there may be an explanation needed. You see how the context and when the question is asked, you know what I'm saying? If your child asks you, then it's okay, this is this, Christmas just happened. I'm gonna get it to you, but this is the situation and circumstances. Then yes. But if it's a person that constantly asks, yeah, no, you don't need no explanation. And then it depends on what time if you didn't explain it to your child already, you don't repeat yourself a third time. So you have to vary that on the levels and when it's asked and who's it's asked to, because that's not clear cut, because it could vary.
okay.
See, I say to that, I would put case by case basis, the same
Hmm.
thing, like, cause if it depends on what you're saying no to,
Hmm.
because if you're a child or if the child is asking you, yeah, can I go to the mall right now, and you saying no to that,
Hmm.
then maybe you should say give an explanation to why they can't go to the mall.
Hmm.
But on the other hand, the child is saying, "Yeah, I want a cigarette," and you say no.
Hmm.
It's like you want to say no and you don't want to explain it. At the same time, you should explain it. It's like,
Hmm.
but then you have cases where you don't you This common sense should kick in at some point for certain things. You know, certain things you shouldn't, you don't need an explanation for, and then certain things you should. Like if you're transparent and if you're dealing with the child knows you, you know your child. Certain things you shouldn't have to explain, but
Mhm.
other things you might have to.
Mhm.
So for
Mhm.
me, the I was more posing the question more towards more. It was more like when the dog. It wasn't kids in the equation, and it was more like when people ask you for things, or if they ask you to do something, and you either can't or you don't want to. A lot of people get in that where you owe them an explanation. Like, I've been in situations where I might have bought something and offered that person what I bought, but they felt that they knew I had money, so I should have bought them their own, like stuff like that. I don't Did I really have to say, well, I might have had some money, but I had other stuff to do? I really owe that explanation. That's
But I
what
said,
No,
nah, stuff
no,
like that does not
and
deserve an
no, need an
explanation.
explanation.
Yeah,
Like
I
no,
don't think you deserve an explanation for that.
for
Nah.
that, no, uh.
I think for me, this is not. I don't know. I feel like this ain't my space to tell you what to do or not. But a couple things. So you don't owe an explanation to your no. I would think that one, it varies depending on your relationship with the person, right?
Mhm.
Like, what type of relationship do you have with them? Do you feel like it's important for you to explain to them? And then two, I'm a big advocate for teaching people once, like just how to love you and like what's important to you, because a lot of the time we sit around and we do make that assumption that common sense is like we make that
Mhm.
assumption that you
Mhm.
should know this, you should already know this. But I'm just a big advocate, like teach people how to love you, like just teach people. You have to
Mhm.
like think about like for the first time in a new relationship, because you've experienced things in your life. You both come from two different walks of life. It does not matter how close y'all situations were, y'all both experienced it different. And the reason why I can speak on that is because I grew up in a house where my mama had 5 kids. We were all raised same environment, same mama. We all came out differently. And I
Mhm.
believe that it has a lot to do with each individual person's perception, perspective, experience, so many different factors to why they can see things differently.
Mhm.
So for me, it's like teach them first, like teach them. Like, and what I mean by that is like, okay, so I want to explain to you this one time because I'm teaching you right now.
Mhm.
But after this, if I feel like the type of relationship we have, I'm not explaining anymore because that's the season I'm in my life where I don't have the capacity to keep repeating myself. And it's important for you to remember things that's important to me. And
Mhm.
if you don't, then that's showing me right then and there. I don't need to explain nothing to you. So
Yeah.
like for me, that's just kind of where I'm seeing things at. Cause I'm just a huge advocate for giving people grace, giving just being understanding. But that's again, it depends on where you are. Do you have the capacity to explain? Because no, you're entitled to not have to explain anything to anybody. You are. That's your right. That's you. That's for you. But like again, for me personally, it's like think of that relationship with that person. Is this person somebody I really do care about? And I know that they may take this the wrong way because of where they are in their life right now. And I do need to explain a little bit. Or is it somebody that I've already explained to and they just keep trying to walk over my boundary and I don't okay at this point, no, I'm not explaining anything to you.
Mhm.
And you're showing me that you don't care. You're showing me that you don't care and you're
And you don't
okay.
value me,
You
yeah.
don't value my
Yeah.
boundary. So
Mhm.
yeah, that's just
Mhm.
kind of how I view it. That's a sticky one though. I'm like, I don't want to tell nobody.
But see,
I don't
that's
want
the
to tell nobody.
thing. That's the thing, though. Like you just said, you know what I'm saying? Like you said it all. That's what I'm saying. I could sit back and chill a little bit because you be saying exactly what be on my mind. Because, like you said, if I didn't told you once and showed you how to treat me, and you not value me, then that's all automatically. I'm not repeating myself. But if it's somebody that you you know what I'm saying? So you got to feel yourself out. And again, that goes with knowing yourself. Cause
Yes.
I'm at a stage in my life. I'm 42. I'm not repeating myself. No.
And I
Mm.
respect that. And I
I'm not.
respect that.
I'm not. I'm not. You see, I'm a peaceful person. I'm a cool person. You see my vibes, and 9 times out of 10, I'm so spiritually in touch. I'm not gonna be around nobody that's gonna irritate my spirit anyway.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
therefore, those questions is not gonna arrive because I don't put myself spiritually in those situations. But
Yeah.
for those who are learning, you must learn yourself and learn
Yeah.
your boundaries. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I would
That
like
was
to
a good
thank
one
you
though.
guys for this discussion. This was a great discussion. I loved all your thoughts, opinions. I loved everything everybody had to say. Thank you guys who commented in the comments. Now, originally, I was supposed to stop at 7:30 because I was gonna do another show on two other topics, but I think I'm gonna move them to next Sunday. I'm sorry, Squala, but we went over. I was gonna stop at 7:30, start the other one at 7:40, but we didn't went over. But the conversation gets good, so that happens. So if you're still available next Sunday and want to touch on the topic, we definitely can. And I appreciate you dropping by. Appreciate you, Monica Love TV. Appreciate you, Nisha by Nature. Everybody in the comments, thank you guys. You all have a good night.
Thank
Definitely.
Nice.
you for
Thank you.
having me.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you. All
Thank
right.
you.
Bye.
And I apologize for being